Hello, James Rieger, co-chair of Tannenbaum Halpern's Cannabis Industry Practice Group, here with another one of our video minute series entitled The Cannabis Insider. As we've previously mentioned, New York has passed an adult use cannabis bill on the end of March 2021, which will be implemented with regulations that are still to be written. We do know that there are 9 application types and that there is a priority given throughout the bill, throughout the law, for social justice and social equity applicants. The legislature is not intending for this to be an industry dominated by a few large corporations, but rather they expect to have a lot of licenses that are held by small businesses, and they've earmarked 50% of all the licenses under the law for what they call social equity applicants. The thinking being certain communities were disproportionately impacted with incarceration rates. Those incarceration rates led to broken homes, led to poverty level living, and that really, if we're going to have adult use cannabis in New York, it's not simply so that people can get high, but it's that we can get people out of jail through expungement, and we can in fact try to deliver an equal playing field to those folks to get into the industry. So someone who is involved, believe it or not, in non-violent drug dealing in the past has a leg up if they want to apply for a cannabis license in New York, because those are the folks that the legislature would like to succeed going forward. And I've heard that firsthand from people as high-ranking as the chief of staff for one of the leading state senators, who's used the example of the delivery licenses in New York really would be suitable for someone who was carrying a pager around and illegally delivering cannabis to people's homes before. They know the business, and we'd like to get them on the right legalized side of the business rather than they continue to do it in the illicit market. So what is a social equity applicant? A social equity applicant is a business that is owned 51% by people of color, by women, by disabled veterans, by certain types of distressed farmers, and then people who are live in certain zip codes that have been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs, as evidenced by certain criteria such as poverty level rates of income and high incarceration rates and things like that. So if you are a social equity applicant, you can either choose to apply as a social equity applicant or just apply as a regular applicant. Why would you apply as a social equity applicant? You would do so because you know that 50% of the licenses are earmarked for those applicants, and so therefore you have a chance to compete for that license and have a better chance to win that license. Why would you not want to apply as a social equity applicant? The only downside that I can see so far is that New York doesn't want a bunch of people flipping their licenses or being strawmen. In other words, finding some rich Wall Street guys who put you up for applying for a license, and then as soon as you get it, turn around and buying it from you for a slight premium or even a decent sized premium. They want those folks to actually operate the business, be in the business, and create what the legislature has referred to as generational wealth. So for 3 years, if you win a social equity applicant license, you can't sell it other than to another social equity applicant. So these are very interesting licenses. Folks who are not social equity applicant licensees actually need to develop what's called a social responsibility framework as part of their application. So if you are a non-social equity applicant, you've got to come up with a reasonable plan, well thought out, of how you're going to help your community, how you're going to give back, diversity type things, who you're going to hire, where you're going to recruit from, and things like that social equity applicant licensees do not as well. So New York is thought of as having the most progressive, well thought out social equity program so far, I think, in the country, and it's a real interesting development, and I think everyone's going to be looking forward to seeing how it develops, and hopefully it's a huge success going forward, and will create a very large number of new small businesses in the cannabis space in New York. Thank you very much. James Rieger, thsh.com.